guunkii guracan dhaxay gabdhaheena galaafatayo dhaxay gabdhaheena galaafatayo gunaadiyo ay u geysatay nabar gunaadiyo ay u geysatay nabar wixii adada guunkii guracan adada guunkii guracan dhaxay gabdhaheena galaafatayo dhaxay gabdhaheena galaafatayo gunaadiyo ay u geysatay nabar gunaadiyo ay u geysatay nabar
barbagalbado umusha ku go'o barbagalbado umusha ku go'o gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan barbagalbado umusha ku go'o barbagalbado umusha ku go'o gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan gogoynta jirkoodu gafwayaan gudniinka bulsho habluhu magayaan gudniinka bulsho habluhu magayaan gudniinka bulsho habluhu magayaan gudniinka bulsho habluhu magayaan
wehey waxaa go'ediinta soo gelin waxaa go'ediinta soo gelin dhaqanka gaygani ka gooniyaho dhaqanka gaygani ka gooniyaho dunidu gebigey xadgudub ku qortaan dunidu gebigey xadgudub ku qortaan wehey waxaan go'ediinta soo gelin waxaan go'ediinta soo gelin dhaqanka gayiga
glitch. I'm so grateful and so happy that you could join us this afternoon on a day when you could have been doing so many other things. You chose to join us and participate in this very important seminar to speak about female genital mutilation. You could have gone out to see the beautiful flowers, you could have gone out to the countryside, but you chose to come here because it shows that you are all concerned. You're concerned about a problem that affects us, women, children, families, and the world. I will speak about my encounter with FGM. I was about 7 or 8 years old, about 72 years ago. You don't need to calculate, I'm 80 years old, don't waste time. I remember it 72 years later, because it was something that should not have been done to me. Very early one morning, I was told to get up, have a shower, and get dressed in a night dress. Not a frock, Not something to go and play with, but a sleeping garment. And I could not understand. I was like, don't ask questions, just do as you're told. So I dressed in my night dress in the morning. And then I was grabbed by women who were our neighbors, who were the friends of my mother, and I was grabbed and put on a stool. And out of nowhere came this woman I had never seen in my life, not very clean, smelling, and when I was held down on this stool with my legs pulled apart, this woman grabbed what was between my legs and just sliced it. No anesthesia. I screamed. I struggled. I tried to fight. 8 years old, fighting 4 strong women. But with the pain, I passed out. My mother, my grandmother, and all the female relatives who were there to witness this were very happy because they had done the right thing for the daughter of Dr. Adan. They had done their duty. They were good women. This is what they believed. They didn't do this to me because they wanted to hurt me. But they felt that this was their duty. The pain was excruciating because the cuts were done with a blunt knife, without anesthesia. There were not sterile instruments. And the closing up was done not with needles and sutures, but with thorns, the thorns from the acacia tree that you put in on each side of the labia, and like shoe straps, you string them to hold that flesh together. That's the reality that we live through. I was left to cry. And I cried myself to sleep. In the meantime, the woman who had done this to me was paid for the good work she had done. And the women, the friends of my mother, feasted on the big fat sheep that was slaughtered for them for this very important, happy occasion, because that little 8-year-old girl was cleansed from what God knows. When my father came home, he had been out of town that day. When he came home that night, I did not go and run to the door to meet my father and say, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." I was not there because I was moaning and crying in my bedroom. And that is where he found me. And that was the first time I saw tears in my father's eyes. And he came down and hugged me. And then went out to my mother and to his mother, my wonderful grandmother, to say, "What have you done?" That proved to me that what had been done to me was wrong. What they had done to me should not have been done to me. What they had done to me should not have been done to me or to any other child. I survived that ordeal because my father had a medical background. But how many girls bleed, and some bleed to death? How many become infected? How many suffer the consequences of this harsh, cruel, and unnecessary for them? Because it was God's will that she should die. She did not die because something wrong was done to her, that her flesh should not have been cut. It is blamed on her destiny. And little girls continue to be cut, continue to be mutilated. Ladies and gentlemen, in my hospital, we see many patients who are brought to us because they're bleeding, they're infected. And I will tell you the horrible story of a little girl, an 11-year-old girl was brought to us one night, about 9, 10 o'clock at night. The reception calls and says there's an emergency. We go down and we find this little girl. She's 11-year-old, born with Down syndrome, Mongolism, almost dead, bleeding, her pulse barely perceptible. The first thing we could do is find blood and transfuse her. The only way we could keep her away from the grave and pack the wound between her legs that had caused this bleeding. We struggled all that night to keep this girl alive. We had to insert a catheter because the meatus, the opening of the urethra, was also sliced off. Now, a child who is 11 years old and whose genitals are sliced off, who is already a Mongol child, and her urethra is damaged for life. Why? And her mother is outside crying, and when we come out and say, "Why did you do this?" her answer was the usual, "But we were cleansing her." How can you cleanse a little child who's already a Mongol, who is already as pure as God could make them? We kept that girl for a week, but she will always be incontinent, in addition to the problems that she was born with. All in the name of tradition. I'm trying to adjust myself to this. Sorry, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, FGM is not just another fictional story. It's not a horror story that's just been thought about. It's a reality. It is a harmful reality, which brings on board festivities and ceremonial happiness, while this pain is inflicted on innocent, young children. And in recent years, ladies and gentlemen, it is no longer an African problem. It is also your problem. If you're in Europe, it's your problem. If you're in America, it's your problem. If you're in Canada, it's your problem. It's a problem of the world. And we must find a global solution for it. We need to fight this practice together. And it is time for everyone to say, enough is enough. If we're good human beings, we must fight FGM. If we're good parents, we must fight FGM. If we're good fathers, we must protect our girls from FGM. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate 1, 2, maybe 3 men, 4 men, who were brave enough to join us today, because men usually hide from this battle. And when men tell me they're brave and they can fight, prove to me that they can also fight FGM. Thank you for being here. In my case, my rebellion started on the day when I was cut, but my real fight started when I returned to my country in 1961 as a qualified nurse and midwife, and for the first time in my life, in my professional life, I was required to deliver women who had undergone FGM, because when I was in Europe, I had never seen that. The 50s and the 60s in Europe, it did not have this many people from developing countries. I never delivered a woman in London who had had FGM. So even though it had been done to me, I had never seen myself from the other end. And when I was faced with this woman in the second stage, whose perineum was not giving, was not allowing this child to come out, I panicked. I didn't know what to do. The University of London and Hammersmith Hospital had not trained me for this. They trained me for Europe. They did not train me for the real world in Africa, my country. They did not tell me that with every delivery I would have to cut and perform an episiotomy. But I would also have to cut up an area that I had never seen cut or sutured together. But that was the only way to get that baby out. And I had to be shown that. Forget about my diplomas. Forget about my specialization. Forget about the credits I had and the awards I had when I was training as a midwife. I was a novice who did not know how to save this baby. If it hadn't been for the old midwives who were there before me, I would not have known what to do. And I would have lost that baby. Ladies and gentlemen, this should not happen. We're professionals who are trained to help a mother go through pregnancy for 9 months. Make sure she's not anemic. Make sure the baby is good. Make sure her blood pressure is controlled. Make sure she has no infection. Make sure that you are preparing her for a normal, healthy, safe delivery. If we are going to be professionals, we must also take that pledge and include in our pledge that we will protect girls from FGM. Because if we don't, then we are making a pledge that is not honest. Ladies, at each delivery, to this day, I think last baby I delivered was last year in October. I'm not practicing as well as I used to anymore. Why should I? My students can do it so much better than I can. But every time I deliver a woman, I am more convinced that what had been done to them was wrong. What had been done to me was wrong. What has been done to you was wrong, because I know many of you have gone through and know what I'm talking about. I started speaking about it. It boiled out. The anger burst in me. I did not plan. It was an angry reaction. I picked up a microphone and spoke about it in public and denounced FGM for what it is, a practice that has no place in this day and age. It was a boiling point that I had not prepared for, but at least I made my opinion known to about 400 people, men and women, who were shocked. And uttering and describing in the female anatomy were words that you did not speak about in public. How could the daughter of Dr. Adam, the former First Lady of the country, the highly loved and respected Edna, could speak about something like that? What happened to her? And when I went home, the news had preceded me. My husband was angry, my mother was angry, my brother was angry, my friends were angry, and everybody was shocked that I could speak about something like that. And how could I bring hurt, embarrassment, humiliation to them? Was I not thinking about them? Nobody told me that I was defending a little girl. They were more concerned about their honor and what I was speaking about. Today we have organizations. I see a great lady there who is one of the pioneers and is fighting FGM in your country. I see sisters from countries in Africa who are also very active in fighting it. There are international organizations. I see colleagues from UNICEF and international organizations. We have resolutions, we have laws forbidding it. But ladies and gentlemen, little girls are still being cut up. Because when we did a survey at the Edna Hospital, we discovered that 97% of the women we deliver had FGM, and 99% had the most severe form, type 3 FGM. What have the resolutions done to protect these women? The resolutions passed in good faith, but they were not applicable. They were not being applied in our countries. When I was your age, I used to lobby the African Union. We used to lobby New York and the United Nations Assembly. We used to take boards in 78, 79. You would see a crazy little girl with a big afro standing with a big board there. We did that. We did that. We had to do that. Because if you don't speak about it, if you don't show your anger, then everyone will think that you're happy with it. Actions that FGM have had on her. Ladies and gentlemen, we must join hands. We must join our efforts. Because if we don't, we will be lone rangers, and little girls will continue to be mutilated. And what I need to do today is not only encourage men, but also encourage religious leaders. Because if our beautiful religion, Islam, forbids it, then why do we pray 5 times a day? Why do we go to Mecca and perform pilgrimage if we are going against the teachings of Islam? I want religious leaders to join this battle. I want fathers to join this battle. I don't want just 3 or 4. I want an army of men to come out and lead this battle for us. I want mothers and fathers holding hands to protect their girls, to protect the future grandchildren they would be bearing. and hope to have. We want governments in my countries, in countries in Africa, not to wait for external resources to come from abroad. I want them to include in the national budget funds to fight FGM. It's as important as building roads. It's as important as anything else they allocate funds for. And when we allocate, I don't know, 23 or 24% of our budget to defense, what defense? Here is an enemy. FGM is affecting every single girl in my country. I want to see national funds to go against FGM. Don't wait for others to come from elsewhere and bring you their money. We want our money to go into our war, into our battle. It is our duty. It is the right thing to do. And although I hope that, because it has now, with the second study that we've done, it's down to 74% of the women who come to us have FGM, but it's nowhere near the end of it. It's nowhere near where it should be after 42 years of risking my life, of risking my time, of risking my marriage, of risking my relationship with my family. I'm unhappy with 26%. I will be happy with 100% total abolition of FGM. And through NORAD, Somaliland Family Health Association is being funded by NORAD. I'm happy with the UN, many UN organizations like UNFPA, WHO, UNICEF do allocate funds, but we're nowhere near the end of it. We're nowhere near seeing the end of FGM. We need to continue our battle. We need to campaign. We need to train health professionals. It is a failure on our part. And we should all be ashamed of it. And I want the diaspora to take the lead. I want everybody in diaspora to take up this challenge. You have been saved from bombs. You have been saved from war. You have been saved from disease. You have been saved from hunger. You have been saved from lions and snakes. You owe it to your people to fight against FGM. Otherwise, you would be failing in your duties as responsible human beings. There is a need for much stronger collaboration between all nationalities. There are 16 countries in Africa where FGM is practiced. I want us to form that single big army to fight it and forget about borders. Forget about who lives on which side of the border. We have a common problem. We must fight it. And I was going to show you a picture of my army, midwives and my nurses, but I can't get it on. But we must finally all agree that FGM is a cruelty against children and it must stop. FGM has no place in this day and age. It must stop. FGM and cruelty against women must stop. Full stop. Thank you all for your attention, and I'm happy to answer questions.
anigu waxaan ahay gabar caafimaad baratay oo sii daayare ah maalin walbana waxaan la kulmaa gabdho aan weli la guursan oo la guday oo problemkooda qabsada oo caafimaadkooda xaalado oo kaalmareennada oo ogoleen inaana la qalo si dhibaatooyinkaas uga baxaan maxaan qaban karnaa anaga waddankan ku nool oo dadkeena Soomaali information sida ugu gudbino waayo kultuurka ayaa aad u adag weliba ceeb ay tahay sida dhinaca nimanka waayo gabadhaas waxay ka baqaysaa maanta hadday guursato in lagu cayo gabadh matiin waa mahadsantahay.
Okay, bismillah الرحمن الرحيم. سؤالي أدنى waxaan weydiin lahaa maadaama ay Somaliland in badan ka shaqeynaysay ka hortagga gabdhaha yaryar la gudayo caruurta xuquuqdooda dawladda ma kala hadashay in haddii lacala gabadh yar la gudo oo si xun ama ay dhiig baxdo ama dhaawac soo gaadho in talaabo sharci oo lagaga qaado waalidkii ilmahaas dhalay ay dawladdu hadday yacni dadku ay ka baqayaan waalidka dawladda ay ka baqayaan isleeyihiin dawladda ay ku qabsanaysa ilmaha waxaa ku samaysaan inay dawladdu wax ka qaban karto arrintaas oo aad kala hadashay dadka dawladda ku jira ama dadka xuquuqda carruurta u dooda. Salaamu calaykum.
I'm not a midwife. I'm a political scientist. And my question for you, Anna, is what can we do to include the religious leaders against the fight for FGM? Yes. Thank you.
wax badan baan kula socday oo ka daawanayay waxaana ii tahay dadka aan fudayda aad baan kaaga mahadcelinaya inaad noo timaado su-aasha aan rabaa inaan weydiiyo waxa weeyaan horta wax yar oo example aan soo qaadanaya qaabka uga sheekaysay sheekadaadii adiga kusoo martay waxba kuma kala duwanid wax yar ku kala duwanahay adiga meeshii 8 sano lagaa weeraray aniga 10 sano lagu weeraray aabahay baana waardeeyay aabahay baa safar aaday marka hooyo waqtigaas ka faa'iidaysatay waa xasuustaa waxay ugu raacday xasuus badan marka waxaan wada leeyahay adigu dad badan baad badbaadisay laakiin anigu hal qof baan badbaadiyay waa kentayda 8 baan kasoo dhaafay marka soo dhaafay waxay jirta 2 sano markii qofku uu baxay waalidku la dardaarmaa maxaa nooga tegaysaa baan yiri waxaan ku yiri hal balan baa idinkaga tegayaa gabadhayda hooyadayda haysay gabadhayda haddaad guddo adduunkana xiriir damba kulama soo yeelanay aakhirada kuma cadabiyo hooyaday arrintii xoog bay u qaadatan manay samayn gabadhaydu waxay norway ugu timid ayadoo nabad qabta horta waa badbaadiyey gabadhaas su-aashaan ku weydiinaya marka waxay tahay halkaan baan jooga 88 ilaa soo noqday wadnahayga waan jeclahay dadkii inaan caawiyo sideen ku caawin karnaa dadkii oo xagee ka bilaabi karnaa taas waa su-aasha ku saabsan gudniinka gabdhaha su-aashaan ku weydiinaya rabaa inaad adigu wax nooga faa'iidaysan waxay tahay gabdhaha Norway degan ee Soomaaliyeed waxay hadda ku jiraan booska ugu horeeya oo ah dadka weydka culayska miisaanka analysis kali sameeyay strategies ee wasaaradda caafimaadka Norway waxay sheegtay awal waxa ahaan jiray dumarka Pakistan hadda percentagooda hoos u dhaceen ali caafimaadkooda ka shaqeeyaan laakiin hadda galaaska ugu horeeya waxa ah caafimaad darrada iyo culayska jirkooda gabdhaha Soomaaliyeed maadaama doctor caafimaad aad tahay maxaad nagula talinaysaa maxaad usoo gudbinaysaa gabdhaha Soomaaliyeed inay ka bedelaan caafimaadkooda caafimaad ahaan iyo qurux ahaanba waa mahadsantahay.
I just have one question. I work in healthcare and I'm married to a Somalilander. And I raised 3 girls. And I always been curious about the FGM. And but every time I ask questions about it, people don't want to talk about it. It's very, and I see the few people here in Norway that works on it. They've been very unpopular. I think. I don't know how to say it, but can I say it? Yeah. Men jeg bare sier at det er et stort problem, men det virker som at hver gang noen tar det opp, så blir man veldig upopulær her i Norge. Det er veldig sånn tabubelagt å snakke om omskjæring, og de jeg sier til, så er det sånn, nei, det finnes ikke, det eksisterer ikke lenger nå, det er mange generasjoner siden, og det er ingen som på en måte vil vedkjenne seg at det er noe som foregår fremdeles, da. Og de få somaliske jentene som har stått fram i Norge, de blir jo veldig upopulære og sett på sånn at de jobber mot folkeslaget sitt, og på en måte... Ja, man skal ikke si noe feil om kulturen, da. Så det bli vanskelig for unge jenter å stå frem og si noe her.
Ja.
Hi, my name is Gunhild. I'm a nurse specialized in global health and work with migration issues. I want to thank all the contributors here tonight for a very interesting evening. You've talked a lot about the diaspora's responsibility in fighting this culture that's been passed down for centuries. I just want to know what you feel is my responsibility as a Western healthcare worker, and what is the best way for me to go about opening up this issue.
A man to even say the word, even that is brave. That thing that you women do, or this, women's issue, they're trying to avoid saying that word. Female genital mutilation. So thank you for having that courage. Now what are we going to do with that courage? We need to save lives. And the only way we can save lives is to educate people and to have economic growth. Now how can we have economic growth? Through education. And I want the Somali men, I congratulate the 70% of Somali girls who go to college and university. You make me proud. Please go on, make that figure go up. Make it 99.99%. Don't just say, oh, 70% of us go to school, so we're okay. No, we still have another, you can climb higher. You can get higher degrees. You can get a second degree. You can specialize in something. You can enroll in anything that helps you to develop academically. Congratulations. Do it. Hold on to it. For the boys, they're in shock. Because even as children, they grew up in a Somali home where it was always the girl who was doing the work. Go and arrange your brother's breakfast. Go and wash your brother's clothes. Go and iron your brother's shirt. Go and do this, cook for your brother. It was always the girl who was doing something in the house. But in the real world, everybody must take their position, their role and responsibilities. So that was then. Now you are here. Learn to first go to school. And don't look for a quick fix. I know many of the boys, because they're out there, back home you're always in the street, back home you're always playing with other boys. But in the new world that you have come to, there may be some elements who are doing criminal things, like selling drugs, counterfeit things, contraband, and by engaging in these criminal acts, you think that maybe I'll get some financial reward for it very quickly without working for it. But do you understand that this is going to destroy your life? Then there are other gangs competing with you. And there's all the violence, and there's also all the knives, there's also the gang war. There's also those elements who are looking for an easy prey. And who may convince you to go and blow you and me up? Education is what will keep you safe. Education is what will keep you in the right company of people who have ambition to be alive, who have ambition to learn, who have ambitions to better themselves, who have ambitions to lead in the world. So, I want every young lady who goes to college or to university to adopt one young man. He may be the guy in your neighborhood. But please encourage that he's never too old to learn. You know, I went back to college when I was 60, when I retired. I went to Boston University and did global health at age 60. I was sitting in the class with 25, 27-year-olds. But I was learning something that I wanted to know more about. Don't think yourself too old to go back to learn something. And get yourself out of this circle, of vicious circle of violence, contraband, I don't know, counterfeit, smuggling, whatever. Go back to school, and every girl, promise me you will adopt one young man, save one young man, and together we will be saving the world and saving families. Everything has degree of severity, okay? There is what is termed sunnah, a symbolic procedure, which is an optional procedure. In our religion, Islam, you can do it or you need not do it. It's called sunnah. And it means, now I don't know how many of you probably all health workers, you know the anatomy. And you have the clitoris. The clitoris, like the penis, has a foreskin. It's lips around the head of the clitoris. And if you prick that with one needle to make one drop of blood out, that is called sunnah. Now, how many of us have blood samples? Diabetics do it several times a day. It doesn't leave any scars. That is what is called sunnah. It doesn't damage, it doesn't cut flesh, because our Prophet ﷺ said, touch but do not cut. So every time we cut, we are going against the teachings of Islam. So type 1 is a symbolic sunnah to let that one drop of blood out. I have no problems with that. Type 2, okay, thank you. Type 2 is when partially or totally the clitoris is excised, is cut off, thrown to the birds, thrown to the rats, and the labia minora may also be cut or may not. That's type 2. Type 3 is the clitoris is amputated, the labia minora is amputated, the inside walls of the labia majora is also excised, and the raw skin is brought together to fuse together, and that is where you put the thorns in or the sutures in to keep the raw skin together and to form a closure of the external genitalia of the woman. That is type 3. That is the type that interferes most with delivery, that causes the most pain, that involves the most tissues to be excised, that also can cause damage to the urethral meatus, that can also cause tetanus, infections, hepatitis, HIV/AIDS, because they use this knife for everything, teeth out, cutting things, and then using it on this little girl. That is type 3. That is the biggest enemy that we must fight. That's the biggest gun against us. That is the one we've got to stop first. So I hope it explains that to you. And I could even show you pictures. Whatever you do, fight it. Fight it with everything you've got, because it's very damaging. It has no place in Islam, in Christianity, in Judaism, in Buddhism, in any of the religions of the world. It's wrong. It's criminal. It must not be done. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate this mother. Thank you. Because you have the courage to speak to your mother and say, please, mother, don't touch my daughter. How many women have the courage to say that to their mother? You had that courage. You and your mother understood that you meant what you said. And that's how your daughter was saved. I hope many more mothers will do that. Because every child we save is, alhamdulillah, one child saved. About the weight, oh my God. If I had that secret, I would be using it. I used to be 49 kilos, now I'm 80-something kilos. Diet, exercise. When I was a nurse, I used to be like this. Because I worked, I burned everything I ate. Now all I have to do is look at food, I put on weight. Exercise. And I had a very active lifestyle. I used to cycle. I used to do every day after work. I used to walk for 7 kilometers, put the car there, walk for 3.5 hours, and walk for 3.5 kilometers. But now I don't. And I spend 7-8 hours in the plane. I see beautiful things. Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. I get tempted. Exercise, diet, more fruits, more vegetables. That's, you know what to do. But our rice and pasta is showing. I wish I had an answer for that. Young people who speak about FGM become very unpopular. Because you're talking about something that for many generations you were told, speak about that. You're an educated girl. You're the daughter of so-and-so. How can you talk about that? Shame on you. And suddenly you are changing that. And you're talking about all the things you should not be talking about. You should speak about it with respect. And that's one of the reasons why I always use the health. And I don't tell them that I'm going to talk to you about FGM because you know nothing about FGM. I usually go and sit with the women. I sit on the ground, they're sitting on the mat, I sit on the same mat. They're sitting on a stone, I sit on the stone. We talk about the weather, the health, how's the goat, how's the cow, how is it this, how's the farm, how's the health. There's been some cases of whooping cough lately. Have you had any whooping cough in this village? No, we have not. What about malaria? No, it hasn't been for a long time, so we've had no problem with malaria. Any problem with little girls bleeding when they have been cut? Yeah, her daughter was cut 2 months ago and she bled. That's how we get to the topic. You don't come up front and say, today, Monday, I'm going to talk about FGM. Nobody will listen. Nobody will be in that village. So learn to go into it as part of a health problem package. Okay? And only go as far as that community will allow you. And then you will come back another time and take one more line, one more step, until they feel comfortable with you. And don't always come about FGM. If they have a problem with diarrhea, come and help them solve that problem with diarrhea. Come and help them solve that problem with water and sanitation. Come and help solve their problem about something else. So they see you as somebody who is there to do good, not only coming for FGM. And then they hear about foreign aid, foreign funds for FGM. They say, you're coming to me to talk about FGM because somebody paid you for it.
Yeah.
Don't let them get that idea, because you're talking about FGM because your heart is telling you to talk about it, because you're concerned about the health of the people. So just learn the best strategy that works for you and with that community. Foreigners, if I'm a foreigner, how can I help? With respect. I think my sister also answered, my daughter answered some. Don't come up and say, today I'm going to talk about this barbaric, mutilating problem that you Africans have. What is wrong with you Africans doing this to your daughters? That's not the right approach. Do it with respect. I know in 79, 80, we used to fight against it. We say, hey, foreigners, you stay up. We're talking about an African problem. We had that. Do it with respect and show that you are offering yourself as part of the solution. You're not here to criticize, but you are concerned. You say, please use me. I'm here to help. How can I help? So find whatever that community wishes to accept from you. They need to accept it. If they don't push it. I would congratulate my Eritrean daughters. You're always dynamic. You're organized. You're disciplined. You fought for many, many years. You got yourselves together. And it shows. Strong solidarity among Eritrean daughters. You make me proud. But except everybody is not as organized as you. And we have not reached your level of organization. So if we fail sometimes, forgive us for it. Show us how to do it better. Don't get angry. We're all fighting a bigger enemy: ignorance, pain, bleeding, infection, death. So let us save that energy to do positive things. But it shows your concern. You burn because you are saying, how is it still going on? I have given everything I had, but it's still there. So congratulations for what you have done. Encouragement for all that needs to be done in the future. We will not give up the fight. We will go on fighting. FGM is going to face very bad days because we need to fight it. What do you do about how can you get religious leaders? Many, many years ago, when I had the authority, I was in Djibouti, a very senior UN diplomat, a WHO representative, a big flag on my Mercedes car, big office, big authority, great diplomat. I was facing a lot of problems with FGM coming from some of the imams. And we didn't know what to do. And then sometimes a little light comes up. And it was close to the time when there is the Umrah. And we all go to Mecca and Medina to make our pilgrimage. And there was one particular imam who was giving me a lot of trouble, a lot of opposition. So what we did, and there are several communities who live in Djibouti. There's the Afar, there's the Somali, and there's the Arab. So we took one from every ethnic community, and we send them on an educational tour. In Djibouti, they speak French. C'est la côte française des Somalis. They speak French and Arabic. So we send them to Tunis. Because in Tunis, they don't have FGM. It's a Muslim country. And there are many students from Djibouti who go on scholarships to Tunis. And we have many professors from Tunisia teaching in Djibouti schools. So Tunis is a country that has a very good relations with Djibouti. And then we've got Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar University is the main Islamic theological school. And then there's Mecca and Medina. So we sent these three imams to Tunis 1 week to learn. If you say we're sending you to learn about FGM, they will not go. Even if the carrot is even that big. We said we are sending you on an educational tour to learn from the experiences of these countries in regard to mother and child health, to reproductive health, and about harmful traditional practices, about the importance of breastfeeding, about the importance of child spacing. Don't say family planning, child spacing. Often I say, I don't care if you have 200 babies, just don't have one for another 2 years. I know she's not going to have 200 babies, I don't condone it. But it passes the message that I am not preventing pregnancy just because I feel like it, but because her health depends on it. She just had a cesarean section. She had a ruptured uterus. If she gets pregnant again, she will rupture again. So I call the husband, and together we sit together and say, how can we keep this mother alive, to keep this newborn baby alive for the next couple of years? And that's how we talk about it. Trans, food. What can we do to include FGM, leaders against FGM? I just gave you that answer. It was one strategy that worked. Will I advise people in Somalia as well? Why not? They're my children too. We have educational lectures, debates that are televised on Somaliland TV, which are accessible everywhere in the world. So whenever I'm speaking to somebody and it is recorded, everybody can access it. We also have, in my university alone, I have many students from Somalia who study and do what we're doing. I have many patients in my hospital from Somalia. Why not? I was educated in Europe. I was educated in the UK. I am here in Norway. Nobody blocked me. If I respect the law of this country, that university or that college, why not? But it's for you to also go back and learn from what you have seen abroad and take it back and share that with them. Share that with your people. And if anybody wants to, and I'm sure there must be some activities in Somalia against FGM, I'm sure of it, because there are many young people we used to work with. I know where Ibada Farah is, a great woman who speaks well, a good friend of mine. There are many, many women who are fighting FGM. We were the same team, and wherever they are, good women, use them. Health work, girls who are not married, who have health problems, don't allow to be opened. I know, we have that problem as well. They cannot pass urine, or their menstrual flow is obstructed. They get a hematocorpus. They get severe dysmenorrhea. They get pelvic inflammation, chronic pelvic inflammation, and bad health if you don't let this blood out. And we open a little bit, just to let the blood clots out. And then we give them a certificate to say that this girl, Fatima, Jana, Abdi, Ali, Muhammad, whatever, had to be opened for medical surgery, for medical reasons, therapeutic reasons. So we do that because they see their daughter sick every month. And sometimes they also have some who are so severe that they go, they have fever, they are in pain. So they understand that there is a medical reason there that requires that we open it. It's like an abscess. It's boiled, you have to open it to let this out. Otherwise it will not heal. Always find a way, find what works. The government. Does the government take legal action against parents who cut their daughters? Well, Sudan has had a law since 1947. I don't think anybody has ever been taken to court. And usually courts are full of men. And usually governments are full of men. And they say, what? We got burglars, we got murderers, we got people who are doing this and that. And you want me to waste time catching a parent because they cleaned a little daughter? Governments will not put somebody in jail because he did it with his daughter anyway. The minister you are going to did it to his daughter. So just educate the community, educate the people, and hopefully in time the majority will learn. And only then can you deal with the minority. But while the majority are doing it, then you can prosecute the minority who are going against the majority. I'm sure we haven't answered all your questions to perfection, but we have given it our best. And I would like to make a gift to the professor. Just hold on a minute. The first research and the findings of the second research. It's available online, and I would like to give it to you. That's one. There's also I love statistics, I love figures. So every month we do a statistic of our births, and our deliveries, and our complications, and I would like you to have that. It needs to be updated. And there's some pictures and stuff, so some of the things we do. And some of the people will tell you nobody can go to Somaliland. Well, 212 volunteers have come to Somaliland. Some were Norwegian, some were others. So I would like to give that to you, Professor. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Let me take a picture of you, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will say something that I forgot to say when I talked some minutes ago. It's so nice to see so many young, very nice Somali women here. And I also meet